Live, this is News 4 New York Now.
It's 5:30 and we start with an I-Team investigation. Is a broken welfare system in New York City hurting struggling families in need and costing taxpayers more money? Welcome back to News 4 New York at 5. I'm Tom Yamas.
And I'm Pat Badlin for Sheba Russell tonight.
The de Blasio administration says 9 out of 10 families kicked off the welfare rolls in the past year were wrongly terminated, and they're blaming the Bloomberg administration.
And that can have some devastating consequences for families, some even winding up homeless.
The I-Team's Melissa Russo is here to tell us about a problem with a mounting human and financial cost. Melissa?
Tom and Pat, we're talking about mothers and fathers struggling to feed their children and pay their rent. When they miss meetings with city caseworkers or job trainers, they get cut off welfare and they have to fight to get their benefits back. Well, the I-Team has learned that state officials now have a plan to slap the city with millions of dollars in penalties unless they stop giving poor clients a runaround.
I lost everything. It was horrible.
Ileana Torres and her 3 children used to live in a sunny 2-bedroom apartment on Bainbridge Avenue. Today, they're homeless. Why? Ileana says it's because the city cut off her welfare.
Nobody wants to be on public assistance. They make you struggle a lot for them to give you that little bit of help.
Ileana went on welfare after losing her maintenance worker job. She was receiving $250 a month in cash, $217 in food stamps. But after missing an appointment with welfare workers, the city closed her case. No more cash, no more food stamps.
Not being able to feed your kids is horrible. The marshals came and they kicked me out. If they had not closed my case, I would have kept my apartment.
Homeless and desperate, Ileana appealed the city's decision to the state. During a hearing, she demonstrated how her lack of childcare had caused her to miss that appointment. Her public assistance was restored. She had fought City Hall and won, but it was too late to get back the home she had lost.
Our policies certainly have a link to homelessness in the city.
Stephen Banks, the city's new welfare commissioner.
Individuals coming to us for help were more often than not ending up with cases closed and sanctioned and ending up applying for shelter.
City officials tell the I-Team 1 out of every 4 people applying for homeless shelter had been docked or cut off welfare.
I bet 4 out of 4 rode the New York City subway systems, but that doesn't mean that everybody who rides the New York City subway system is going to go into the shelter system.
Robert Dorr, Mayor Bloomberg's welfare commissioner, disputes the link between welfare penalties and homelessness.
I just think it's an oversimplification. That doesn't necessarily mean that's what caused them to be in the shelter system.
But the current commissioner insists he arrived to find a broken welfare system with policies designed to close cases instead of help people find jobs. They say one piece of proof: when clients like Ileana appeal to the state, the city loses 9 out of 10 times, a failure rate so high the I-Team has learned the state now plans to do to the city what the city's been doing to its poor residents: cut off its cash. This year, the city could have to pay back $10 million for a process the state calls bogged down with unnecessary cases.
It's much better to fix the underlying problem than to end up with the kind of costs that have been associated with a program in which only 1 out of 10 hearings are won.
Consider that when people like Ileana win their hearings, not only do the taxpayers pay their past and future welfare dollars, they also foot the high bill for homeless shelter. Not to mention all those hearings.
They could have bought a house.
It's penny wise and pound foolish to keep operating a program which has got a link to homelessness.
The de Blasio administration promises they'll get better results after they remove the runaround for people who need welfare.
We'll see.
His predecessor, Robert Dorr, tells the I-Team it's a dangerous proposition.
We could be on the path of that previous world where there were no consequences, no rules, no requirements on welfare receipt. And I think that would be bad for the city, but most important, it'll be bad for the people we're trying to help.
Now, the de Blasio administration says it's streamlining the process to make it less punitive, but Dorr warns that the city will end up with more dependency and less employment unless there's a system set up that helps motivate people to go out and get into the workforce. He says rules and requirements and the penalties for not meeting them are what have helped produce reduce the welfare rolls by 2/3 from more than 1 million people back in the 1990s.
Talk to us about these penalties the city may have to pay. Are taxpayers going to have to pay that?
Well, it all comes out of the taxpayer money that taxpayers are paying, Tom. But, you know, right now the city's winning only 1 out of 10 of those hearings. The state has put in place, they did this quietly, a formula where if the city loses more than half of the hearings, they'll have to withhold some of their state funding, and that could be withheld up to an amount of $10 million this year. So it doesn't really make sense to send people through that process if the city's going to end up, you know, paying potentially for shelter and everything else. They still have to pay people back for all the welfare they cut them off.
Wow.
All right, Melissa, thank you. Good story tonight.
Great idea. And if you have something you think the News 4 I team should look into, just give them a call at 1-866-NEWS-24.